fighter has the highest fight IQ?
I don't think there's nobody in the game that has the fight IQ that I have.
Off the charts.
His IQ
the
is
highest
insane.
fight IQ maybe ever.
This guy hits hard. He's tough. He's this, he's that. And this guy has a dream. But my fight IQ will win this fight.
Oh.
Welcome to the Fight IQ podcast. We're back with another episode. We have quite possibly one of the worst pay-per-view cards that's ever been put together coming up this weekend. Capped off with one of the worst rematches ever. We've made videos in the past of why this rematch is a horrible matchup. This one's going to be relatively quick. Like I'm saying, this card is pretty shat. We're going to move really quickly through the early prelims. Let's start Park versus Tumen Dembarel. I'm going Tumen Dembarel. He lost in his UFC debut. However, he looks like a strong, powerful flyweight who just didn't throw enough volume. Maybe UFC jitters, whatever it is. I'm going with Tumen Dembarel to win this fight.
Nice. I'm actually going to go the opposite. I'm going Hyung Sung Park. Couldn't do that one very well. So he's 2-0 in the UFC. He's undefeated overall in his record. He's had finishes in both of his fights leading up to this point. He got a performance of the night bonus for one of them for a liver shot knockout. Like, just really solid, coming in with a lot of power. South Korea's been having a lot of momentum recently, so I got to go Park.
I'm also going to go Team Best Korea and go with Hyung Sung Park. I do rate the Mongolians highly. Lately, they've been doing pretty well in the UFC, but yeah, going with Hyung Sung Park on this one.
Fair enough. In the interest of quickness, up to the next one, Salkild versus Anshul Jubilee. Anshul Jubilee is never going to win a fight in the UFC. He's going to get cut after this. Hopefully, I can hope. Indian MMA is never going to make it. That's all I'm going to say about that. Salkild is going to win this fight, and that's that.
Yeah, I'm going Quillen as well. He's a multi-time other organization champ. He's had really good fights leading up to this point. Won a fight on the Contender Series. He's had a bunch of finishes. I don't think Anshul's going to have anything for him.
I'm definitely going to go with Quillen as well. I feel like this is going to be a showcase fight for him, being one of the Australians on the card. I feel like they just want to put him in a good matchup for him to showcase his skills here. So I feel like he's going to run through Jubilee, and there's probably going to be a lot of memes about it the next day.
I sure hope so. Let's move up. Jonathan McAuliffe versus Kevin Jousset. They're giving McAuliffe kind of a tough fight here in his debut. I'm not going to lie. He had a really impressive win on the Contender Series. McAuliffe really well-rounded and powerful, strong, like fast twitch muscle fiber type fighter. Yeah. I'm going to go with him here just because I think he's a little more well-rounded than Jousset, but Jousset is a very good fighter. This should be exciting, actually. This should be a fun fight.
Yeah, I was looking at this one too. I think it's going to be a good fight. I'm a little bummed that they dropped Kevin all the way down to the early prelims. You know, he had that fight against Brian Battle, which I thought was actually closer than we expected it to be, but a good fight overall. Jonathan has a similar style where he's willing to kind of slugfest it out. He's got great grappling. I think that CKB pretty kickboxing style is not necessarily going to do Jousset a whole lot of justice in this fight. I've got Jonathan winning this one for sure.
I think I'm gonna go with Jousset on this one. Nice. I think he has a lot more UFC experience, and I feel like he's going to be able to at least make it to a 29-28 decision over Jonathan. I just feel like this might be a little bit too much too soon for Maya Cliff here.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's go up. Another guy making his UFC debut, Cody Steele. Kind of a weird thing, right? He was on the Contender Series, and last minute his opponent pulled out, so they brought him back. Then he got a good win. Now he's making his debut against Rongshu. I haven't seen anything from Rongshu that's particularly impressive. Cody Steele does have a very strong grappling background, and his striking's not half bad either. For those reasons, Cody Steele is my pick for this one.
Nice. Yeah, I'm going Cody Steele as well. I was looking into Rongshu a little bit. This is his second time in the UFC. He got cut back in 2022, and they brought him back on the road to UFC. Underwhelming kind of the whole way around. His first time in the UFC was obviously even worse, but he's still really young, so maybe he's early in his career even with 24 wins. I mean, hey, it is what it is. I think Cody's a lot stronger, probably has a better skill set, and I think is going to be able to get this one done.
I'm also going to go with Cody Steele on this one. I feel like Rong Shu just hasn't really shown anything impressive over his long tenure of competing in mixed martial arts. It's just like, how are you fighting for this long and you really don't have any like super sharp parts of your game, Mm-hmm. So, I'm going to go with Cody Steele on this one.
Cool.
Nice.
Well, that does it for the early prelims. We'll spend a little bit more time on these matchups for the prelims, but still going to try to keep it pretty quick. Colby Thickness versus Alexandre Topuria. First off, if I lost to a dude with the last name Thickness, I'm reconsidering my life. I am going to go with Colby though. Topuria's got the name obviously because of his brother, and he's a good corner man. He's a great coach. I was able to coach his brother to a title. But yeah, I'm going Colby Thickness. He's got a lot of experience training with Volkanovski. It's a good thing to have in your pocket, especially like Topuria's opponents haven't been the best in the beginning of his career. So I'm going Colby.
Nice. Yeah, this is one of the fights that I wanted to talk about a little bit here, because obviously Topuria wasn't meant to fight Colby. He was meant to fight Cody Haddon. So Colby's stepping in. This is obviously his UFC debut, which is pretty cool. Longtime training partner of Volk, somebody that Volkanovski speaks very, very highly of. Hardest worker in the room kind of mentality. Not to say that Topuria isn't that, but I think this is going to be one of those situations where Colby's got this potentially big opportunity to make a name for himself. And I think he comes out and gets it done. I also like the fact that this sets up a really big fight in the future if we ever get that. Obviously, Ilya is going to be cornering his brother, and Volkanovski is going to be in Colby's corner for this fight. So they are going to have this kind of rematch in a way. And I think if Colby can get this done, he beats the Topuria brother. Volk and Ilya happens again in the future. Maybe we get some beef where one's now trying to avenge his brother, one's trying to avenge his belt loss, and we have this opportunity to kind of market this as kind of a Conor Khabib going to coach their relative fighters in Dagestan, but whatever that happened, but in a way that's a little bit more relevant and a little less about racism. So I think it's a cool fight. I think Colby gets it done on this one. I think he's just got a little more experience and he's just waited for that right opportunity.
I am going to go with Mr. Topuria on this one. I do definitely think he's fought a lot of cans coming up. He has had a lot of time off in MMA to coach up his brother. I do think right now, if you're thinking about this logically, the person with better experience and probably with a lot more different training partners is going to be Colby. But what I think is going to win Topuria this fight is going to be, I'm going to just bank on him having similar boxing skills as his brother, since, he's training him and all that stuff, and they're going to have a very similar IQ. So I think they might find a spot that they can capitalize. With this being a short notice opponent, though, the odds are really stacked against him, and I don't think Topuria should be a favorite in this fight at all. So I'm actually going with in my opinion, who should be the rightful underdog. I don't know if that's what the betting odds say, but I think Topuria's between the two Topuria brothers, I think they're going to be able to make something happen. But odds are most likely we're going to see Colby get a shocking upset here, maybe a flatline KO, and everyone's going to be talking about it on Monday morning. But I'm a bet on the Topuria brothers here.
Fair.
Oof. Hey, fair enough.
Moving up to the next fight, this actually, throughout all of women's MMA, is probably one of the best fights you can make. Wang Kong versus Bruna Brazil. Bruna Brazil, training with the Fighting Nerds. She's on a streak. She's looked really, really good lately. And then Wang Kong, kind of hasn't lived up to the hype that we were kind of all hoping she was going to coming into the UFC. That being said, Wang Kong is still a minus 455 favorite going into this matchup. I don't like it. I'm going Bruna Brazil. She's looked really impressive, especially if I'm betting on this fight. I'm putting some money on Bruna Brazil. Her training is great. Her camp is great. She's been on a streak. I like the way she's looking recently, and I don't like the way that Wang Kong tends to kind of her game plan kind of goes out the window, and her skills kind of go downhill once she realizes she's hitting a little bit of adversity. And I think Bruna Brazil is not going to be easy to finish. And I think once Wang Kong is in there and she realizes, like, man, this is not as easy as I thought it was going to be, I think Bruna Brazil is going to take over. So I'm gonna say she'll probably win a 29-28 type of decision where Wang Kong has a good first round and then Bruna comes back and wins round 2 and 3.
Yeah, I kind of see this going similarly. It's an opportunity to see two more kickboxing-centric fighters in women's MMA. Obviously, Wang Kong, everybody had that moment of like, oh, she's the little female Pereira because she's got all this power. And, her last time out was pretty lackluster, in my opinion. Obviously, that was one of the harder fraud checks that we've seen. Bruna Brazil looks great. I'm always going to glaze any fighting nerd, right? Mayra Bueno Silva being the exception. But Bruna Brazil, I think, is in that place where she's looked really good. She's come up through the fighting nerds, had a great appearance on the Contender Series, got a head kick knockout there. I think we're seeing the continuation of the fraud checking of Wang Kong here. I think Bruna Brazil gets it done.
All right. Let the record state that I'm going to correct Andrew on saying that the last performance was very lackluster. That was a fucking sick fight that she had against Fernandez, and that girl was just a fucking female Yoel Romero, and caught her with great. She caught her with a sick combination, and she has a lot of fucking power. I think this is going to be one of the more exciting fights on the entire card. This is like my top 3 fights I'm excited for, because you're going to see some really high level striking coming out the women's division. I do think Bruna Brazil is going to win because she has more methods to victory. She can probably out grapple Wang Kong, and I do see that being a conversation of this fight quite a bit. That's something that's definitely going to take place. But I do want to say that I rate Wang Kong striking very highly. I think Bruna Brazil just has more tools to be able to get the victory here. And it's very unfortunate because, I feel like with the right matchmaking, Wang Kong could be a superstar of that division, But I feel like, she's just fought 2 really, really hard people to beat at that weight class. And, she still needs to get her feet wet because she's very skilled. She has, wins over Valentina Shevchenko in kickboxing. And her striking is so slick. So, this is a coin flip type of deal where it's on the feet, who knows who's going to have the advantages, because I don't think Bruna Brazil has the same power as Fernandez does. And if you're going to try and have a technical kickboxing match with Wang Kong, I don't see it going very well. That's where I think the grappling is going to come into play. So with that being said, Bruna Brazil is probably going to take this one by decision or submission.
Nice.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, really, if the UFC wanted to be smart and hype up Wang Kong like they should have, the correct thing to do would have been to give her preferable matchups as she's coming up the division, instead of just okay, she got a cool knockout in her debut against an absolute can. Now let's give her fights that are just bad matchups on paper for her. They should have gave her easier matchups. I mean, the women's
Casey O'Neill, dude. Have her fight fucking Casey O'Neill,
she
dude.
would fuck up Casey O'Neill.
See what happens when you have Wang Kong versus that Casey
I know,
O'Neill.
but this is what I'm saying. A fight like that should have happened. The UFC, and I literally just posted a video of how bad the UFC matchmaking has been recently. It's the UFC's oh man, we got Wang Kong, this awesome kickboxer who beat Shevchenko in kickboxing, and similar storyline to Pereira and Izzy, and then they just ruin it. If there's ever a time where you should give fighters preferential matchups as they work their way up the division, that would be it. The women's divisions need all the help they can get, and we're just going to take this prospect and give her on paper hard stylistic matchups. It's so dumb, and they're here doing it again, but whatever.
Yeah, dude,
it is what it is.
Fucking sucks.
Let's move up. Vyacheslav Borshev versus Tom Noland. I think this is a pretty easy one on paper. The odds have it pretty close. But I think Borshev is going to win pretty handily. Borshev did kind of get fucked up by Chase Hooper, but Chase Hooper is a monster at lightweight, seemingly. And Tom Nolan is, again, one of these guys who had a good win on the Contender Series and just has not lived up to the hype in the UFC. I think it's going to be pretty easy for Borshev, if I'm being honest.
Oof. Okay, I'm going to disagree with you on this one. I was looking at this one. Tom Nolan actually has a pretty nasty knockout win over Bogdan Grad, who we just saw last weekend very well.
Win
I
by
think this is going
strike.
to be one of those.
He won by grappling.
Yeah, can I say that Bogdan's striking is fucking terrible?
Horrible.
The striking defense is
It's
awful.
not great. It's not great. It's not great striking. Borishev has some nice lead leg kicks. You know, he's got a good head kick. He's got good striking. He did get darsed by Chase Hooper. I'm going to put my pick on Tom Nolan for this one. I think it's a nice underdog. He's not a big underdog here, right? It is going to be fairly close. Borshev is one of those guys. He's 3-3, right? He's no more or less, you know, good at pulling out some kind of, oh man, you know, he's really got one in the back. You know, Tom Nolan's 1-1 in the UFC. He's 3-3. They're both at equal ratios to win-loss now. I think the performances from Tom Nolan have been better.
Yeah, but I think who have they been fighting? Like clearly Chase Hooper is going to be a name in the lightweight division for a good amount of time, especially because of how young he is. I think he's still only 24. And when you look at Borshev, like when he's going up against guys that are like a Tom Nolan, where they just get it done in the striking and they don't really have much in the way of grappling, Borshev beats those guys.
Like, I mean, he took Yontop to a split decision recently.
Yontop's huge, and he's also not a bad boxer. I think people want to shit on Yontop just because he got fucked up by Rufi, but Rufi is like technically, legitimately one of the best strikers in the entire UFC. And Yontop is tough, dude. He's almost impossible to knock out. He's huge. He's got good boxing. I don't think that's a bad. I don't think that's a bad thing to have on Borshev's record. I think Borshev is getting this one done.
Yeah, I'm also going to go Slava Klaus on this one. I think he gets a decision win, maybe a KO, and he does that little dance where he like kicks his legs out. You know what I'm saying? I think this is going to be a good one for Borishev to get back in there. I rate his skills pretty highly. He's always had slick boxing, and it seems like when it comes to having trouble, it's in the grappling department. But I want to say he's stayed at Team Alpha Male for his entire UFC tenure, and you're only going to get better and better grappling defense there. So I do rate the Chase Hooper loss. Like I think that Chase Hooper is on a trajectory to be like a killer in a couple of years. Yeah. He's literally just growing into himself, and that skill set is coming with him. So I think Borchev's going to take this one. And I think he could even possibly get a finish on it.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move up though. Featured prelim, Jack Jenkins versus Gabriel Santos. I'm going Jack Jenkins. The dude is good. Yep. The dude's got great leg kicks. He's got great boxing. He's got good scramble ability. He's tough. I'm going Jack Jenkins. That's that.
Yeah, Jack Jenkins is one of those guys that's kind of gone under the radar for a little bit, but he's got some of the nastiest leg kicks in the game. I mean, I would put him comparable to like a Justin Gaethje, where it's just such a dangerous part of his game. I think he was saying he has 5 opponents that have either been finished by or injured by his leg kicks at this point, which is just a crazy number. He's got multiple leg kick finishes leading up to his UFC run. I mean, I think his striking is just significantly better. Gabriel Santos has lost to both David Onama and Lerone Murphy, who are both good strikers as well. So this is one of those situations where we're putting him up against another guy who's probably going to outclass him on the feet.
Yeah, and I'm a little confused as to why Gabriel Santos is like a little bit of a heavy favorite here, minus 230. It's a little confusing to me. The dude lost to David Onama. Like, and David Onama's good. I'm not trying to say David Onama's not good, but he ain't ranked. He hasn't beat anyone. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I don't get the betting lines, but I am going Jack Jenkins. Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're thinking that there's going to be some sort of grappling exchange because one's a Brazilian, that he's going to have an advantage. But Jack Jenkins has had great ground games as well and has had several submission wins himself. If you're looking for underdogs, that's not a bad one.
Yeah, man, I'm definitely going to go Jack Jenkins on this one too. I feel like this is going to be another one of those. This is like an Australian fighter fighting in Australia showcase fights where they just want, somebody to come in there and put on a great performance that really catapults their name into, where it's supposed to be. The main event of the prelims. So, this is a really good feature fight for Jack Jenkins to kind of become a mainstay and a name that everybody recognizes,
Mm-hmm. Agreed. With that, let's move on to the worst pay-per-view card I may have ever seen.
It's really bad.
I am glad Tatiana Suarez is getting her title shot, but I mean,
Yes.
bro,
It's rough, man.
We got a Tafa brother on the featured fight. I mean, absolutely crazy. But let's talk about the first one, Jake Matthews versus Francisco Prado. This is going to be probably fight of the night. Francisco Prado, kind of plots forward, good boxing. Jake Matthews is tough as shit though, and way more well-rounded and more experience in the UFC. I'm going Jake Matthews. Francisco Prado's good, like I said, good striking, but he's a little small for the division. He's got a big head. Jake Matthews is going to win.
I'm gonna go the other way on this one. I've got Prado winning this, and then part of me is doing this because I've kind of been picking prospects throughout the card, and I wanted to kind of keep that trend rolling. Getting into some MMA math, Jake Matthews, all of his losses have come by fighters that have had 2 losses or less. So we're talking Sean Brady, we're talking Michael Morales, we're talking Andrew Holbrook, we're talking Kevin Lee. So it's way too deep. I'm going full Rain Man on this one. This is one of those situations where if we wanted to look at trends, it's an interesting one to see because it's consistent. I think Francisco Prado has this one. He's been a little hit or miss. He's had a lot of submissions in his career. I'm going with him just off of a feeling on this one for sure.
Hey man, picking off the vibes is okay. It's okay.
Yeah, dude. It's one of those where it's like the universe. I got the channel on, so the universe is telling me on this one and is saying, "Hey man, look at Jake Matthews' record. Look at the trend." And, you tell me what that means. Damn it.
Jake Matthews is a Gemini, so he's gonna win this one, I think.
Yeah, dude. Francisco Prado got it done.
Dude. Francisco Prado,
it's gonna come by submission.
Bro, did you guys know Francisco Prado doesn't have any pets? And Jake Matthews, going up against guys who don't have any pets, tends to do. Bro,
Hey.
You did so much research on this card. I think it's hurting your picks.
Yeah, dude.
Not a chance, dude. Not a chance. I like trends. I think it was fun. It's completely irrelevant but fun.
You know what? All I need to see to make my pick on this one,
their guys, just their face.
Prado fucking lost to Malarkey, bro. He lost to fucking Malarkey. So I'm picking Jake Matthews to fuck him up in Australia, where he's from, dude. His family's gonna be there. This is gonna open up the pay-per-view. This is gonna be one of those vibes where you're like, oh, here we go with this shitty pay-per-view, and then Jake Matthews is gonna go out there and fuck this dude up, dude. I feel like if I can first round KO on Prado, and it'd be a fucking statement, dude.
Yeah.
Dude, I'll eat my words. If it happens.
100%. Dude, Francisco Prado looks like fucking Drew Dober mixed with Joel Alvarez. This is crazy. It's tripping me out.
He's Spanish Drew Dober, except he's Argentinian.
Argentinian Drew Dober. All right. Let's move up. Jimmy Crute versus Rodolfo Bellato. Rodolfo Bellato has got to be one of the craziest looking people on the entire roster.
Dude.
His neck is wider than his head.
Yep.
The fucking Easter Island head that people use for the Pereira memes and shit, bro. Bellato legit is that.
Yeah.
Bellato is the Easter Island head. I think he's going to get it done. He is very good too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie. Bellato is very good. He came in, another guy who came in through the Contender Series. Jimmy Crute, too much time in between fights. There's injuries, there's bad losses, there's all this shit. And Jimmy Crute is good, but he's just, I don't rate him as high as Bellato. And Bellato doesn't have the UFC experience that Jimmy Crute has, but just looking at their fights and looking at their history and the way they fight, Bellato is very good. And he's strong and he's well-rounded. I think he's going to beat Jimmy.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think this is a pretty easy pick here. Looking back at Bellato's record too, he's got 12 wins and 11 of those have come by way of finish, either a submission or a KO, TKO. He's got a really nice arsenal of takedowns and throws that he likes to mix into. He's big. He's really athletic for being, kind of an odd looking dude. Jimmy Crute's just kind of been on a drag here for a minute. He hasn't won since 2020. He's had 3 losses in a row with a draw in the middle there, and all of them were pretty nasty. I mean, he got knocked out by Hill. There was a doctor's stoppage against Anthony Smith. Menefield guillotined him. Like it's been a rough go for him in this last decade here. And I think this has probably got to be his last fight. I don't know if he loses this, they got to cut him. I don't know what else you do with Jimmy Crute.
Yeah.
This is a safe one to bet on a finish. I think Jimmy Crute gets finished one way or another here.
Yeah. I'm going to agree with you guys and go with Rodolfo here. One thing that Jimmy Crute has always had is just he looks so awkward during the stand-up. He's primarily a grappler, but like I feel like he really hasn't put any skill points, if you will, into being able to have good locomotion around the cage, being able to cut the cage, keep yourself safe. He's so open to being hit. He walks straight up and down. He crosses his feet a lot. Like when I watch him like moving around the octagon, it's almost like a really tall toddler with the head that's too big, and he's kind of like following his head. And he's so susceptible to leg kicks, very susceptible to eating big shots. He doesn't move his head when he gets hit hard. And like he can grapple, like don't get me wrong, like in the grappling exchanges is where he's going to shine and where he's going to have success. But when you're so susceptible to eating such big shots and taking lots of damage standing like that, I feel like it's just not a good recipe for somebody that hits as hard as Rodolfo that has a lot of finishes. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna go with that. And like Andrew was saying, he's probably going to get finished in front of his friends and family in Australia.
Yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah,
but let's move up. Featured fight on this card: Taliesin Teixeira versus Justin Tafa. The odds aren't out yet, but I would not be surprised if Teixeira was a huge favorite coming in.
Yeah,
he's a 6'8" heavyweight. He's got good hands, good kicks. Takedown defense seems to be pretty good, even though Justin Tafa is not going to try to take him down here. It'd pretty much be impossible. I say Taliesin Teixeira round 1 KO. Probably with it, I would say even within the first minute or two.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't get that specific, but I've learned over time to never trust the Tafa brother. It's just one of those where it's like you can't bank on them to get it done. And Taliesin Teixeira is just one of those guys that's coming in, and he's just such an imposing dude. I mean, he's huge. He's got almost a foot in reach advantage on Tafa for this fight, and with somebody with hands, that could mean something here. And Tafa's just susceptible to getting hit because he tries to make things ugly, because that's when he can land those really big left hands. And I just don't think that's going to be the case. I don't think it's going to be there for him, and I think Taliesin finishes him.
Yeah, man. The UFC has been looking for a new Mark Hunt since Mark Hunt left, a big heavyweight from like New Zealand, Australia area, that has really heavy hands, that's going to hit, not walk off KOs. Tafa has shown, sparks of greatness against lower caliber competition. But at the end of the day, man, he's just a fat heavyweight with some really heavy hands that likes to fight. And I feel like this matchup specifically is a nightmare for him, because all of his success is going to be, like you were saying, come from making the fight dirty up against the cage, landing big arcing punches. And I feel like when you have that much of an attribute difference between like your reach and your height, you're just having to overcome so much adversity to find success, as to where all Teixeira has to do is lift up a knee and your head's right there to get fucking kneed in the face, So I feel like Teixeira is probably going to either get like a dominant 30-27, or he's going to finish Tafa. And I don't think he's going to have a lot of success here.
Yeah, agreed. Let's move on to the co-main event. Zhang Weili versus Tatiana Suarez. Actually, one of the best fights you can make. There's really not many other contenders in the strawweight division right now. Thankfully, Tatiana Suarez is healthy. She's ready to go. Hopefully, I don't jinx it by saying that. Man, this is tough. We've been talking about this entire card, and I have been thinking about this fight the entire time because I really don't know who's going to win. My gut, I want to say Zhang Weili. She's, more active. She's very well-rounded. In the last few years, we know how much she's improved in her wrestling game. Tatiana Suarez, her only path to victory here, in my eyes, is taking down Weili and dominating her on the ground. I don't see her being able to outspeed and outmaneuver Zhang Weili on the feet. Tatiana Suarez, she's got okay striking, but she's just not as fast. She looks like she's struggling with her striking when she moves a little bit. And Zhang Weili is very comfortable, very slick. And I think, what I just said is kind of like the big point in this one. Zhang Weili is just going to be more comfortable in the fight. That's what I think. I think Zhang Weili, man, I don't see her finishing Tatiana, but I could definitely see like a 50-45 or a 49-46, which kind of sucks because I do want Tatiana to win so we can get some new exciting fights in terms of title contenders and things like that. But yeah, I think Zhang Weili, her activity, her speed, all of that is gonna win her the fight.
Nice. I mean, this is such a hard one, right? Because Weili Zhang is just one of those fighters that's been probably one of the most dominant champs we've seen in women's MMA, and probably one of the more exciting ones. I mean, her fight against Joanna is probably the greatest women's MMA fight of all time, arguably. She's been consistently good. I would argue that they both struggled with those moments of time off, right? Like there was a lot of time before Weili was willing to fight Yan Xiaonan. I think it was almost 2 years before she had that fight. So they both had those moments where they were inactive. Weili Zhang's just so good on the feet, but my heart wants Tatiana to win this one. I was thinking about this. I'd love to see this kind of go down as an Alexa Grasso, Valentina Shevchenko sort of situation, where maybe she overextends, there's a takedown involved, there's a quick back take, something like that. I'd like to see Suarez win this one, so we will see. I'm picking her for it, but it's tentative just because Weili is so good and she's been so dominant in the division.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Tatiana Suarez on this one. All the time off, all the injuries and all that stuff really sucks. And so it makes it really hard for me to really make a confident pick. If she was competing regularly and she wasn't, so prone to having neck injuries, back injuries, knee injuries, all of these stuff that adds up over time, that makes it harder and harder to compete. If that was the case, it'd be so much easier to pick Tatiana Suarez because she's so dominant in the grappling. But I'm just going to trust that she's even just a fraction of what she used to be, and she's going to be able to just put on a very dominant grappling performance against Weili Zhang, because it does exhaust you when you're just getting manhandled grappling-wise. I do think Weili Zhang took a lot of time to prepare for this fight grappling, but at the same time, I just feel like you're not going to be able to overcome an Olympian level of wrestling in one training camp. So I think Tatiana is going to be able to just out-grapple Weili Zhang. She lands very brutal ground and pound for, women's strawweight, and she does go for submissions. So I think, she's very strong. She has a massive back. Her feet are size 13 men's, and she's going to fuck up Weili Zhang. You know what I'm saying?
That can't be true. She definitely does not wear a size 13.
Yo, dude, she got some flippers on her, man. She's fucking, and that has a lot to do with it, man. Because when you see her in top position on her base, bro, and you see how much torque she's able to get, it makes a massive difference, dude.
All right.
That's actually that's Alex Pereira's left hook, bro. Is her fucking Jordans down there. You know what I'm saying?
All right. I'll believe you. I'm not gonna check it. I'm just gonna believe you. All right,
hard
man.
to miss.
All right, man. Let's cap this off. Let's go up to Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland 2. The rematch.
Oh, man.
The rematch that nobody wanted. Bro, I have no reason to believe that this fight's not going to go exactly how the first fight went.
Yeah.
And for that reason, I'm picking Dricus du Plessis by a weird decision.
Yep. I mean, that's a safe pick. I also picked Dricus for this one. Dricus is one of those guys where, at this point, we've all kind of crowned him as, the best, worst fighter in the UFC, right? He's the guy that is dog shit but can't stop winning. And even Izzy and Robert Whitaker were talking about it. How are they're in the ring with him, and they're like, wow, this dude's really fucking slow. And then all of a sudden they get punched in the face.
Yeah.
So he's just got this very unorthodox style. He's so athletic and explosive, though. So anytime he wants to get kind of any effort into a takedown, you're having to really deal with it. And he loves random blast doubles. I watched it in the first fight against Strickland. Out of nowhere, without really setting anything up, would just shoot a blast double on you. And it's almost kind of got that Marab feel where whether he gets the takedown or not doesn't seem to matter as much because his cardio is never going to run out. He gets tired. He looks really tired. He starts mouth breathing. And then all of a sudden he's just like, nah, I'm good again. And, Strickland is one of those guys that really relies on being the better paced fighter, being the guy that doesn't get tired. So when you're dealing with a guy that's, Marab level weaponized cardio, that kind of goes away a bit. Sean seems to be kind of preparing the way that Sean always does, just slugging it out in his gym with Nina Drama cornering him and doing his usual sparring sessions every day. I don't know that he's really changed too much for his game plan here. I think Dricus is obviously a better wrestler. Sean's got a black belt in jiu-jitsu and is great at getting back up. But that looks really bad on the scorecards, and it's kind of what made the fight the first time was, all those takedowns adding up was probably what gave Dricus the win. And I could see that happening again here.
Yeah, I'm going to go also with Dricus. I'm going to also go by weird decision. I just feel like Sean Strickland is like the king of split decisions for a reason. It's because his style is just so there's not a lot of like really heavy damaging shots coming. It's like a real point fighty style, a lot of jabs, a lot of teeps. He does march people down really well. And I feel like Dricus is just not going to be there. Like, he's not going to play that game. He's not going to keep backing up. Eventually, he's going to move forward, whether it's through a blitz, a blast double, and there's some serious heat behind his punches that are coming in. That being said, that leaves him susceptible to being jabbed up by Sean Strickland, which is why in the first fight he took a lot of damage and the face and stuff like that. I just don't think Sean was really thinking about the first fight the way he needed to. Because at the end of the day, it was such a close fight, and you can blame the judges, you can blame Dricus, you can try and blame a headbutt, you can make all these excuses, or you can say, what about my style makes it so I'm going to so many split decisions all the time, and what about my style is making it so I'm always leaving this stuff in the hands of the judges. And, he had a pretty dominant showing against Paulo Costa, but that fight fucking sucked. It should not have gotten him a title shot. Look at Imaval's performance against Izzy. Look at fucking Hamzat's performance against Robert Whittaker. Those are two by far like way more deserving people. And now Imaval's probably going to have to fight one more time before getting a title shot because Sean Strickland's kind of taken up this spot. And it's a completely undeserved rematch, in my opinion, just because there was a close fight, that really doesn't mean that we need to have rematches, John Jones had a really close fight against Dominic Reyes. Where was the fucking rematch then, So all I'm saying is I think Dricus is going to take this one. I feel like Dricus's mindset is a lot more healthier and competitive than the one that Sean Strickland's bringing to the table, making a lot of excuses and stuff like that about the first fight. And I really don't see like how much more he could add to his game that's going to really make a big difference in this fight.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Sean Strickland being the split decision master, and we saw how the split decision went the first time they fought. Like I said in the beginning of this, I have no reason to believe that this fight is going to go any differently than the first one. Dricus always finds a way to win. He must be freakishly strong because he gets takedowns in every single fight. But if you look at the way that he's getting the takedown, there is almost zero technique. I just rewatched the Izzy fight too. The way he got Izzy down with a failed takedown of the attempt, and then Izzy basically like tripped over Dricus's hand. Like it was like Dricus doesn't take these people down. He attempts takedowns, and then these people just go down somehow. Like he must be freakishly strong. And guys, if you're listening to this, do not let them trick you. This fight is going to be a pitter-patter fight. They're going to say all the things that they think you want to hear. Oh, the first fight, whatever. The first fight went to the judges. We're not leaving it in the hands of the judges this time. This is going to be a war. Do not listen to them. They're trying to trick you. Don't buy the pay-per-view. Stream it. Do whatever you got to do. Do not give the UFC your money for this card. This is a disrespect to the UFC fans, and the UFC doesn't deserve our money for this. That's where I'm going to leave it.
Dude, it's almost $100 to pay for the fucking pay-per-views, you know what I'm saying?
Crazy, bro.
If
Absolutely
anything,
crazy.
bro, they should scale the price from as low as $30 to all the way up to however much, like at least cap it at 80 or something like that where it is now. Yeah. And then like, we understand this is going to be a dog shit card. Let's it's $30, everybody. $30. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Get in on this one, dude.
You're paying for two fights,
Yeah.
I'll pay $15 to watch Tatiana and fucking Weili Zhang, and I'll pay $15 to watch Dricus versus fucking Sean Strickland 2, a fight I didn't even want to see again in the first place. And then, fucking everything else is the prelims. How about that? That would be cool.
Yeah.
That's all free.
bro. You
Yeah.
know, because nobody's fucking paying to see Junior Tafa versus Teixeira, bro. Nobody, or Justin Tafa versus Teixeira. No one's paying to watch fucking Jimmy Crute fight, on a fucking pay-per-view, bro. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
Maybe like 3 of his friends are, maybe.
Mhm.
But like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing, man? Like $80 for this, dude? I'm
Yeah.
a good boy.
It's
I
rough.
like to pay for it to support people. I know it just goes to Mickey Mouse's
Absolutely.
fucking pocket, but like at the end of the day, dude, like fuck, this shit sucks.
Yeah,
It's
and
a rough one.
I'm sure all
Yeah.
you guys out there agree, or at least most of you. Those are our thoughts on UFC 312, Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland 2. I don't know. I'm hoping that that in reality it's not as bad as it is on paper, but this is what we got. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate everyone watching. Adios.
Peace.